Hello everybody, this is Zoe from No Safer Place. Now before I start this video, I just want to clarify. I am in fact wearing clothes. I am definitely not naked for this video, even if it appears that I am. So today I'm going to be doing one of my Worth the Hype videos. If you're not familiar with those, I take a book that has so much hype surrounding it and tell you if I feel like it is worthy of it. Now today I'm talking about a book that I have been excited for over a year now, I think. When it was first announced, I was absolutely obsessed and could not wait for it. Of course, today we're talking about Catwoman Soulstealer by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I have to admit, I was very skeptical about this book going into it because I am very hit and miss with Sarah's writing. Sometimes I absolutely love it and sometimes I absolutely hate it. So I was really nervous going into it. So carry on watching this video if you want to know whether this book is worthy of the hype. So let me tell you a little bit about the story. I went in completely blind, having not read the synopsis, because sometimes I enjoy the surprise of that, and it also makes me lower my expectations because there's nothing that I'm expecting to see. So the story focuses on 17-year-old Selina Kyle, otherwise known as Catwoman. The book is set in a 2-year time period, but we only get to see Selina as a 17-year-old, and then it jumps to her almost 20th birthday. And although we kind of know what's happened in between, we don't really know the ins and outs of it. So at the start of the book, when she's 17, she is living with her little sister Maggie, and she is her sole carer. Her mum and dad aren't around, and Maggie has cystic fibrosis, so she's extremely ill, and Selina is the only one that is looking after her. She has to provide for her, get the money somehow. So Selina starts working in this underground street gang type place, and she fights to earn the money to look after her sister. Now, she fights in a group called the Leopards, and there's a tiny hint there as to how she ends up being called Catwoman, and I loved this idea. I thought it was so clever and fitted with the story and why she needed the money just so perfectly. And every time she defeated someone in a fight, she would get another dot tattooed on her, and currently she had 27 spots, I think, which shows how much of a badass she is. So not to spoil too much, something bad happens, which means she is separated from her little sister, and she finds herself in Italy being trained by this League of Assassins. So she is there for 2 years, and she comes back after having been trained to Gotham City, and a lot has changed. Catwoman teams up with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, which is like the most amazing trio ever. And they attempt to take down Batwing, as he is the superhero of the story, and they just want to make the city theirs. Now, this book really reminded me of Ocean's 8, but with superheroes. There are a lot of heists that are going on. They are stealing a lot of valuable things, and it's all very money driven. Now, we don't know what Selina's plan is at the moment, if she even has one, so it's all very mysterious. So that is all I'll say about the storyline at this point. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but it gets very dark, very intense, and amazing. So I just want to take a moment to talk about the representation in this book. There is gay rep, there is lesbian rep, there is people of colour rep, there is so much feminism bursting from every page in this book. I just cannot get over how fantastic it is. I mean, I expected as much when I opened the prologue and saw the dedication was for the women who raise hell and have fun doing it. I am all about female empowerment, and this book is literally the definition of female empowerment. It is sensational. It also touches a bit on mental health as well, very slightly. It also talks a bit about abuse, so if you're triggered by physical or sexual abuse, I personally would maybe give this one a miss. It doesn't talk about it in too much detail, but if you're really triggered, avoid. The dialogue was absolutely fantastic. That was probably my favourite part of the book. There is definitely a lot of humour in this, which I wasn't expecting. It was definitely a pleasant surprise, especially Selina herself. She is very sassy, very fiery, just as we know her. But there's also a very vulnerable side of her depicted in this book, which we don't really get to see. The ending left me in absolute pieces. I was crying my eyes out by the last page because it really, really got to me, and I just adored seeing that side of Selena. And another thing I absolutely loved were the little Easter eggs. There were so many Easter eggs. If you're familiar with the DC universe or you're familiar with Gotham City, there were so many little things in there that I was like, oh, I remember that from the comics, or oh, I remember that in the films. And it's just little things like one of the characters saying, oh, we're two sides of the same coin, which is obviously a really well-known DC phrase. And then there's so many familiar characters. So obviously we have Catwoman, we have Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, the Joker turns up, Batwing, Batman's there for a little while, Alfred, just so many familiar characters. And the way that they were all intertwined just didn't feel forced or rushed. And I also felt that with the representation, that it didn't feel like it was being put in there just to make herself look good. It all fitted in perfectly, and I just absolutely adored this book so much. Of course, if you're a hardcore fan, there are going to be some changes, so don't go into this book thinking that it's going to be an exact representation of comics, because it's not. It's a YA book at the end of the day, so it is going to be slightly changed to fit that demographic. What I also loved was the lack of sex scenes with Sarah J Maas books. If you don't like sex scenes, you shouldn't be reading them, and I had got really fed up of them. So having a book and seeing how good she is at sexual tension without having sex makes me so angry, because if all her other books had done this, I would have enjoyed them so much more. This was definitely my favourite in the 3 DC superhero books so far. This was definitely my favourite Sarah J Maas book so far. Just everything about it was exactly what I wanted it to be, and although I went in with kind of low expectations, by the time I'd finished I was completely overwhelmed with how good it was. If you've read the book, or if you've read any in the DC YA superhero books, let me know in the comments below. I love discussions, especially about books that are really hyped up, because of course there are always going to be very contrasting opinions and a lot of passionate people, so make sure you leave a comment in the box below. And in answer to the question of this video, this book is most definitely worthy of the hype surrounding it. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see more of on my channel, and hope to see you all again soon. Thank you, bye!